Zhou Zhou stopped thinking about it. From his point of view, as long as there were no accidents in the future, the number of he-gods would definitely surpass the Lord of 10,000 evils in all aspects. However, he did not look down on the Lord of 10,000 evils because of this. Even if his friend was far inferior to him in terms of the increase in the number of god spirits, he had served under the Supreme Will for too long. Other than the Supreme Will, probably no one knew how many trump cards at the Supreme Will realm the other party had. Zhou Zhou knew very well that even though he was developing very quickly in terms of foundation, he was still far inferior to the Lord of 10,000 evils. But in terms of foundation, he was still far inferior to Lord of 10,000 evils. He was confident that when he upgraded this Lord Talent to the Lord Talent of the Supreme Will realm in the future, it would be very simple for him to surpass the Lord of 10,000 evils, and even the Spring Autumn Dharma Lord and God, King Heaven Punishment in terms of foundation. For example, he had given the Supreme Will 100,000 Supreme Divine Artifacts, apart from him, who would have thought that he would obtain more than 50,000 Supreme Divine Artifacts in just today's battle. If nothing unexpected happened after tomorrow, he would have another 100,000 Supreme Divine Artifacts. Looking at it this way, it was not without reason that the Supreme Will was envious of him for having such a Lord Talent. When he saw it himself, he would envy himself right at that moment. Another message was sent to Zhou Zhou's personal terminal. He looked over and realized that it was sent by his main avatar, Zhou Manage. The content of the message was about the collection of tickets to the Chaos Sea, the collection of cross-border, travel fees, and the purchase of Chaos Divine Treasures. There were a total of 55 factions that came to the Chaos Sea today to search for the chaotic mystic realm to collect chaotic divine treasures. The people who came were all high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions. They all wanted to enter the Chaos Sea and search for the Chaos Mystic Realm to obtain the Chaos Divine Treasure. Zhou Manage made the decision to set the ticket fee at 100 Master God Tier Advanced Grade Divine Crystals. These factions could only enter the Chaos Sea after paying the ticket fee. You have to pay the ticket fee again for every extra day he stayed. He could get a certain discount if he wanted to stay for a long time. As for the entrance fee of 100 Master God Tier Advanced Grade Divine Crystals, it was still an acceptable price for these high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions, especially the high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions that wanted to advance to a Master God Tier Kingdom, even though it was a little expensive for ordinary Divine Kingdom Lord factions. Of the 55 high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions, 30 directly paid the price of the tickets for 10 days, and the other 25 directly paid the price of the tickets for an entire month. They still obtained 84,000 Master God Tier Advanced Grade Divine Crystals after the 20% discount. In addition, Zheng Yuanqi also said that the staff of the Chaos Sea had already discussed the use of the Heavenly Post with the 55 high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions. They would pay a certain amount of divine crystals to use the Heavenly Stage Station and use the Shadow World to travel to their respective divine kingdoms. On this matter, the 55 high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions, surprisingly, all agreed. Zhou could not help but sigh, as expected of a high-level Divine Kingdom Lord faction. None of them deficient divine crystals. As for using divine artifacts and divine crystals to purchase from the chaotic mystic realm to obtain the chaotic divine treasure, most of the 55 high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions did not agree directly. After hearing that, however, they did not reject it either. Instead, they expressed that they would seriously consider it. They had just arrived in the Chaos Sea. It would take them some time to find the Chaos Mystic Realm hidden here. It was also a problem if they could take it down safely after finding it. It was indeed not good to agree now. However, Zhou Manage mentioned here that there was a high chance that a portion of the high-level Divine Kingdom Lords would agree to their transaction request. Even though Chaos Divine Treasures were good, divine artifacts and divine crystals were not bad either. Let Thanatos lead a portion of the Homeland Defense Army soldiers to the Chaos Sea to maintain order, to prevent these foreign high-level Divine Kingdom Lord factions from fighting for the chaotic mystic realm. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he immediately replied to Zhou Manage. Zhou Manage immediately replied and agreed. Zhou Zhou extended his correct hand and saw the 2 drops of willpower that the Supreme Will had rewarded him with during the day appear in his hand after reading it. He gazed at the source of will in his hand and began to reflect about who to reward them to. There doesn't seem to be any other choice. Zhou Zhou suddenly smiled. Then he sent someone to call Nazario over. Soon, the Abyssal Holy Dragon, Nazario, came in front of him. The current Nazario was already at the tier of a Master God Tier Advanced Grade God Spirit. His body was also becoming larger. Wherever he passed, the surrounding scenery changed, as if the abyss will had descended. Fortunately, the space in the temple was huge and sturdy enough. Even if Nazario entered the temple in his complete form, it would not be a problem. Otherwise, he would have to shrink his body to enter. Master. Nazario expressed deferentially and intimately, "Here you go." Zhou Zhou nonchalantly waved. His hand and the drop of willpower flew in front of Nazario. Nazario only took a glance before its vertical dragon iris were immediately filled with shock. "My master, this is too expensive." Nazario knew that his master doted on it, but he never expected that his master would love him so much. Such a precious treasure was actually given to him. Wouldn't His Majesty need it? He was touched. He knew that even though he was quite strong now, he was still lacking when it came to following His Majesty. The enemy His Majesty was facing now was already in existence at the level of a supreme god after all. Any casual aftershock of the battle could shatter his body and soul. Under such circumstances, it was clearly no longer appropriate for him to follow His Majesty in fight. If it was just a flying pet, the dragon god of all life was undoubtedly more suitable for Zhou Zhou. This was also why he could follow His Majesty. His combat strength was average, and his support was far inferior to the dragon god of all life. This caused him to be in an awkward position. This also caused Zhou Zhou to not arrange for him to be by his side. He was only a legion commander in the dragon god army. Even though this status was already the status of a top general below one person and above tens of thousands of people. But Nazario still missed the days when he fought alongside His Majesty. He did not expect that His Majesty would still think of him, even now. His Majesty did not want to use such a good treasure and was willing to invest it in him. Master still has me in his heart, and not just that coquettish bitch, the dragon god, of all life from the outer universe. Excitement. Nazario was extremely excited. "If I tell you to take it, you take it." Zhou Zhou smiled and sighed. "Without you, even if your master would have risen, it would not have been as smooth as before. During that time, you were my most trusted and trustworthy subordinate and pet. This emperor will naturally not forget you when I have something good. Master! Boo-hoo. Even though Nazario was already at Master God tier advanced grade, he was still a small dragon that had been born for a short period of time. Even though he had received a large number of bloodline inheritances from the dragon race, he was still very pure and straightforward. So he was immediately touched when he heard this. "Come on, let's go. Take it back and refine it. I'll wait for the good news that you become a supreme god. Don't worry about the abyss, Will. Your master, I, am already the Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army. My status can't be compared to the same day. He won't harm you on my account." Zhou Zhou smiled. "Yes, Your Grace." Nazario nodded hard and flew away. Zhou Zhou looked at his back as he flew away, feeling a little emotional. The abyss, Will that he was most worried about in the past, was no longer a problem now that he had transformed and become the Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army. The crisis of Nazario's abyssal holy dragon inheritance disappeared without a trace, without even negotiating. Strength and status could really change many things. He had already made arrangements for the other drop of willpower, the ultimate void battlefield. Zhou Fight and Bai Yun announced that the meeting was adjourned when they arrived. Zhou Fight stopped Bai Yun just as she was about to leave. When the other generals saw that only Bai Yun was left behind, they could not help but feel envious, but they was not jealous. This was because they knew that Bai Yun, the Legion commander of the Blazing Sun Army, was the first veteran general to follow His Majesty. The amount of time she had followed. His Majesty was even longer than Prime Minister Zheng Yuanqi, who is now the Prime Minister of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom. Moreover, the other party was also very strong. While he was already a Master God tier advanced grade God spirit, second only to the Supreme God martial arts that His Majesty had recruited from the outside world. Furthermore, in terms of military merits, as the Legion commander of the Blazing Sun, Divine Kingdom's first Legion, no one could compare to Bai Yun in terms of accumulating military merits. Moreover, Bai Yun was humble and had a good relationship with her subjects, but she did not join any faction. She was only an absolutely loyal subject under His Majesty's orders, an elder-level subordinate with top-notch strength, high status, first in military merits, a good relationship with His Majesty, and at the same time, not forming alliances. Bai Yun, who had almost all kinds of buffs, became the most trusted general by His Majesty's side. Most of the ministers in the entire Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom were convinced. Speaking of which, Bai Yun, who was left behind by General Zhou, called him to her side. He looked at her and smiled. How's your cultivation going? Your Majesty, with the grade 4 Supreme God inheritance you gave me as a reference, I've already reached the limit of a Master God tier advanced grade. After tempering myself in the real world and the reincarnation sacred palace for a while, I should be able to try to advance to the Supreme God level. Baiyun said respectfully and gratefully. After Zhou Zhou obtained the inheritance of a grade 4 Supreme God, he immediately rewarded it to Baiyun. After Baiyun knew that she was the first to obtain the inheritance of a grade 4 Supreme God, she was naturally grateful to Zhou Zhou. She knew that she owed His Majesty too much. It was so much that she could never repay him and could only dedicate her life to His Majesty's conquest and then die. Zhou Fight did not know what Baiyun was thinking. He threw another drop of willpower to Baiyun and said, "With this treasure, you should be able to advance to the Supreme God realm very quickly." When Baiyun saw the drop of willpower in front of her and knew her ability, her pupils trembled like Nazario's. It's actually a treasure to increase one's will? Baiyun was shocked. She looked at Zhou Fight and was about to say something when Zhou Fight waved his hand to stop her. You have to quickly become a Supreme God. Currently, even though this emperor has 31 Supreme Gods under him, these Supreme Gods were recruited by this emperor from the outside world. There hasn't been a Supreme God born among the local generals under this emperor. You are this emperor's most trusted general, and also the Legion commander of the Blazing Sun, Divine Kingdom's #1 main combat army. You have to set an example to convince the crowd. Is that clear? He reminded. Baiyun swallowed the words she was about to say after hearing Zhou Fight's instructions. He nodded with a solemn expression and solemnly promised, I will definitely advance to the Supreme God realm as soon as possible. If I can't advance to the Supreme God realm, I'm willing to see you. Don't scare this emperor with that scene. Zhou Fight smiled and said. Baiyun nodded solemnly. Go. Leave the general's matters to Qi Xuantian. Continue to fight in the ultimate void battlefield during the day and return to the reincarnation sacred palace in the Supreme Continent at night to cultivate well and strive to advance to the Supreme God realm as soon as possible. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll go now, Baiyun nodded. Then she took the drop of willpower with both hands solemnly and turned to leave. But Zhou Fight shook his head and laughed. Then he muttered to himself, Let's hope everything goes well. The Supreme God was different from others. It could not be reached just because one had enough potential. After all, Master God tier advanced grade was currently the limit of the potential of the myriad worlds. The Supreme God needed comprehensive aptitude, opportunities, and even illusory luck to reach it. Even though he had given him the inheritance of a grade 4 Supreme God and a precious treasure like the source of will, it was really uncertain. If he could advance to the Supreme God level, there's probably an 80% chance. However, there was also a chance of failure in the remaining 20% probability. However, in terms of luck, with the protection of my luck, it's unlikely that he will fail, right? At the thought of this, Zhou Fight felt additional at ease. In terms of luck, he was confident that in the entire supreme great cosmos, the merely ones who might surpass he were probably the reserves of other supreme lords, the supreme will, realm, and the supreme will. With the blessing of such a level of providence, he didn't believe that his subordinates might be so unlucky. He had encountered a 20% chance of failure. Thinking of this, he stopped thinking and began cultivating. In the land of dusk, the God King Heaven Punishment was looking down at the intersection between his army and the illusionist clan's army on a peak covered in blood. The battle between the two sides was very intense. In a short period of time, a large number of God spirits, true God tiers, master God tiers, and yet supreme gods died. Suddenly, a drumbeat came from behind him. This drumbeat was very special. Even in a special area like the land of dusk, it might be accurately transmitted to the ears of every God spirit fighting. God King Heaven Punishment raised his eyebrows. Was this a retreat signal? Without High's orders, who would dare to go beyond him to give the order to retreat? Could it be? He turned around and saw the Supreme Will smiling at him. He seemed to have encountered something happy. What might make the Supreme Will so happy? Could a new Supreme Will realm existence be born in the Supreme Great Cosmos? The God King Heaven Punishment was shocked when he saw this. Even though God King Heaven Punishment was puzzled, he still immediately came in front of the Supreme Will and said respectfully, Greetings, Lord Supreme Will. How's the situation on your side? The Supreme Will asked with a smile. The Supreme Will was really in a good mood. The God King Heaven Punishment could not help but think again when he saw the smile on the Supreme Will's face. In the past, the Supreme Will had always looked serious when he asked this question. He had never seen the Supreme Will ask questions with a smile. The God King Heaven Punishment did not think too much about it and shook his head honestly. It's still the same as before. I can't kill them all. Fortunately, my heavenly punishment army isn't bad either. We can still suppress them for now. The illusionist clan originates from the thoughts of life forms. It's indeed difficult to kill them. Only the truth can kill illusions. But it's a pity that this truth is not the truth of our world. Otherwise, it would be simple. The Supreme Po Po Imam Will said, "If I can reach the willpower level and become a real existence in the world where the illusionist clan is located, I will definitely kill all the truth and illusions and return eternal peace to our supreme great cosmos." At this point, the God King Heaven Punishment suddenly retracted his smile and said coldly, "That's too far." The Supreme Will nodded when he heard this. Then he flipped his right hand and saw a supreme divine artifact level world ring appear in his hand. "Do you know what's in this world ring? Is it a supreme treasure to deal with the illusionary race?" The God King Heaven Punishment's eyes lit up as he asked. "You could say that," the Supreme Will said solemnly. God King Heaven Punishment blinked. "Supreme divine artifact? So what?" At his level, supreme divine artifacts were still treasures when he had seen many of them. There was nothing special about them. Besides, even though the supreme divine artifact could help supreme gods and supreme wills to better deal with the invasion of the illusionary race, the effect was only so-so. Why was the Supreme Will so serious? Was not a will holy artifact. Supreme divine artifact level world rings? The God King Heaven Punishment suddenly noticed this ring that contained a supreme divine artifact. He raised his eyebrows and could not help but be surprised. He had seen many supreme god weapons and equipment, but this was the first time he had seen the storage treasure of the supreme god weapon. Who was so wasteful as to use supreme god-level materials to make storage treasures? Was it so extravagant? Guess how many supreme divine artifacts are contained in this world rings? The Supreme Will asked with a smile. "Well, 100 sets?" the God King Heaven Punishment asked boldly. He felt that this number was enough. Supreme divine. Artifacts were enough for each of the 500 supreme gods to have a supreme divine artifact, and their combat strength would increase greatly. Or they could directly let more than 80 supreme gods have a full set of supreme divine artifacts. If they joined forces, they could even match a quasi-supreme will realm expert. If there were really so many supreme divine artifacts, they could indeed be of some help to the battle situation in the Land of Dusk. Even though these illusionist clan could achieve the effect of immortality through continuous resurrection, resurrection also required time. As long as they killed fast enough, they could completely restrain their offensive. 100 sets? The Supreme Will chuckled softly in his heart. He didn't beat around the bush and directly said 100,000. 100,000 sets. But you're talking about supreme divine artifacts? The God King Heaven Punishment immediately widened his eyes. The Supreme Will nodded slightly, then he waved his right hand and saw the world rings fly towards God, King Heaven Punishment, and float in front of him. The God King Heaven Punishment immediately probed with the power of his will. Indeed, he saw the 100,000 supreme divine artifacts inside at a glance. Not one more, not one less. All of them emitted the light of the Supreme God's laws, dazzling his will. Am I dreaming? Even those ultimate void races that are best at fishing treasures in the ultimate void might not have 100,000 supreme divine artifacts, right? The God King Heaven Punishment muttered to himself. He pondered for a few seconds and looked at the Supreme Will. Lord Supreme Will, these 100,000 supreme divine artifacts should have been sent over by my fourth brother, right? The Supreme Will smiled and nodded. It's indeed my magical and generous fourth brother. The God King Heaven Punishment clicked his tongue. Then he stopped talking. This was because he did not know what to say. Facing these 100,000 supreme divine artifacts, even him, the first reserve army of the Supreme Lord, felt that he had not seen the world and was even a little timid. This was like a middle-class person who earned 500,000 yen a year suddenly being hit by 10 small targets. Who wouldn't be stunned? However, the God King Heaven Punishment was a magnanimous person. He quickly ignored this matter. He looked at the world rings in his hand and looked up at the Supreme Will. He suddenly said excitedly, Lord Supreme Will, are these 100,000 supreme divine artifacts all for me? You wish? The Supreme Will rolled his eyes at the other party. There are a total of more than 5,000 supreme gods and 12 permanent supreme will realm experts in the land of dusk. Even if all of you wear supreme divine artifacts, you'll only need 40,000 supreme divine artifacts at most. Why do you need 100,000 supreme divine artifacts? Then how should the supreme will deal with the remaining supreme divine artifacts? The god King Heaven Punishment also knew that it was impossible for his joke to come true. However, he was already very satisfied to be able to obtain 40,000 supreme divine artifacts for the supreme god spirits in the land of dusk. Then he turned around and asked, I plan to leave 20,000 of the remaining 60,000 supreme divine artifacts for the Crimson Overlord camp. As for the rest, I plan to make a trip to the Ultimate Void to exchange some treasures and inheritances with the rulers of the other universes to increase our strength. The Supreme Will said solemnly. The god King Heaven Punishment frowned. He was not surprised that the Supreme Will had gone to the Ultimate Void to trade treasures with the rulers of the other universes. As the Supreme Lord Reserve, who had followed the Supreme Will the longest, he had long known that the Supreme Will was doing these things. He would even occasionally replace the Supreme Will to go to other great cosmos to make deals with the rulers of those great cosmoses. What made God King Heaven Punishment frown was the fact that the Supreme Will had lent 10,000 supreme divine artifacts to the Crimson Overlord. Lord Supreme Will, are you really going to lend it to the Crimson Overlord? The God King Heaven Punishment asked. The Supreme Will nodded slightly. Even though the Crimson Overlord and I have a battle of laws and the great Tao, we still have to abandon our past grudges and resist foreign enemies. In the past 1,000 years, the Illusionist clan has been attacking our two universes more and more urgently. Helping the Crimson Overlord is helping ourselves. Moreover, I'm only borrowing it. I'm still lending it to the other party's supreme divine artifact. I won't lose out. A smile appeared on Supreme Will face when he said this. Clearly, he already had a rough plan of how to lend the other party the supreme divine artifact. I was thinking too much. The God King Heaven Punishment nodded and revealed his usual smile. The Supreme Will did not say anything else. He gave 40,000 supreme divine artifacts to God King Heaven Punishment while he disappeared. After God, King Heaven Punishment saw the Supreme Will disappear. He looked at the world ring that was filled with 40,000 supreme divine artifacts, and a smile appeared on his lips. Then he finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. Thunder Emperor, he suddenly ordered after he stopped smiling. In the next moment, a heavenly punishment divine general surrounded by purple lightning came in front of him. The Legion commander of the heavenly punishment army, Thunder Emperor, greets his Majesty, he said respectfully. Gather all the supreme gods, including those lone supreme gods, and come to our military armory. Tell them that this divine being has great benefits to discuss with them. The God King Heaven Punishment said in high spirits. He planned to give these Illusionist clan a hard time with these 40,000 supreme divine artifacts. Yes, Your Majesty. Thunder Emperor was curious, but he did not ask further. He immediately sent his subordinates to summon the supreme god. The next day, at the blazing sun divine capital inside the reincarnation sacred palace. Zhou Zhou was sitting cross-legged on the Tao comprehension futon, comprehending the Lord's laws. A book that emitted a noble purple light floated in front of him. It was the Will Holy Artifact, Holy Scripture of the Heart. In addition, his chest emitted a faint white light. It was the Premier Heart. Zhou Zhou's realm increased at a rocket-like speed with the help of the Holy Scripture of the Heart and the Premier Heart. At this moment, Zhou Fight slowly opened his eyes. At that moment, his eyes had turned into a pair of dazzling golden dragon eyes. The light emitted by this pair of dazzling golden dragon eyes was even more dazzling and noble than the sun. In the next second, Zhou Zhou turned into a golden light and flew out of the shrine, charging into the starry sky of the divine kingdom. After the golden light dissipated, an eastern divine dragon with 9 dragon feet and 5 dragon toes on. Each dragon foot appeared in the starry sky. He was 90,000 light years long. With a slight movement, the stars in the sky would tremble. Roar! He let out an earth-shaking dragon roar. This dragon roar spread to all the living beings in the myriad worlds in an unbelievable way, especially those living beings with the status of lords. They realized that in the depths of their hearts, the vast scene of this eastern divine dragon roaming the world appeared. They looked at the 9-clawed golden dragon and could not help but feel reverence and even submission. They felt their hair stand on end again when they responded. What was wrong with him? Why did he want to submit to the common people's regal for no reason? At the same time, this phenomenon did not only affect ordinary lords in the myriad worlds. Even the Lord of 10,000 Evils, Dharma Lord Spring and Autumn, and God King Heaven Punishment looked in the direction of Blazing Sun Divine Capital in surprise. Looks like my fourth brother comprehended another impressive law skill. Furthermore, I'm a lord. It's normal for me to have the thought of recruiting him when I see such an expert. At the same time, the Supreme Will, who was teleporting non-stop in the ultimate void, seemed to sense something and looked in a certain direction behind him. A smile appeared on his face. Zhou Zhou looked at his current divine dragon body. I didn't expect my fifth law skill to actually fuse all my dragon bloodline and the dragon god of all life bloodline to create this 95 Supreme King Dragon God body. What a pleasant surprise. Then, on he clicked his tongue in wonder. He had just broken through and was now a grade 1 Supreme God, and he had relied on the fifth Lord Law skill. He had created the 95 Supreme King to upgrade his laws to Supreme God laws. With a thought, law skill information appeared in front of him. Law skill. Name, 95. Supreme King. Law skill. Quality, grade 1, Supreme God. Introduction to nomological skills. You stand at the peak of all lords. You are the king of lords, the absolute supreme. When you face other lords, and they are enemies with you, all the abilities that they use against you will be weakened by 10%. There is a 10% chance that they will be ineffective. When the subjects under your command fight with you, their combat strength will increase by 100%. Other lords will have a natural sense of reverence and even submission when facing you. There is a certain chance that the other party will agree to your opinions and thoughts. Those who are your enemies will feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. Only those with extremely strong willpower will be immune to this fear. You can transform into the 95 Supreme King Dragon God. Your body is invincible and indestructible, unless all the soldiers under you die, or the difference in strength between you and the other party is so great that it can't be made up for. You will definitely not die. When you transform into the 95 Supreme King Dragon God and appear on the battlefield, you will randomly give your soldiers the supreme blessing to strengthen their various abilities. What a great 95 Supreme King. As expected of my fifth Lord Law skill, Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction after reading it. With this Lord Law skill, if he encountered other lords in the future, they would be inferior to him for no reason. Moreover, the ability of his 95 Supreme King Dragon God avatar was also very powerful. His body was invincible and undying. Unless all the soldiers under my command die, or the gap between my strength and the other party is so huge that it can't be made up for, I definitely won't die. Zhou Zhou felt that the difference in strength was too great. It did not even include quasi-supreme willpower realm experts. Instead, it meant that one could only break his immortal dragon god body when facing supreme willpower realm experts. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. As for the supreme blessing, he would only know when he saw it on the battlefield. Then he looked at the law skills of the other four lords. First, it was naturally the king that he relied on the most. Law skill, name king, law skill quality, grade 1, Supreme God. Introduction. As a true God spirit on the Lord's law path, you can mark 50% of the territorial subjects and control everything. They have, including appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even illusory fate. When you control everything that the marked subject has, the subject doesn't have to suffer any negative effects. Oh my God. Zhou Zhou could not help but click his tongue after reading it. After the King's Lord law skill advanced to grade 1 Supreme God, the number of markings did not change, but it could control 5 times as much as everything they had. He, now, had 31 Supreme God subordinates. In other words, when he activated the grade 1 Supreme God law skill, King, the Supreme God level power he grasped would be the combined power of 155 Supreme Gods. The power of 155 Supreme Gods combined. Even without relying on the extreme method of the below Supreme grade, the 95 Supreme King Dragon God's incarnation, and the self-destruction of the Supreme Divine Artifact, I'm probably at the quasi-Supreme Will realm, right? Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. When Zhou Zhou thought of his current combat strength, which was also at the quasi-Supreme Will level, he could not help but feel very happy. This was not the combat power of a quasi-Supreme Will obtained by self-destructing a Supreme Divine Artifact. It was a genuine quasi-Supreme Will battle power. Naturally, the two could not be compared. Moreover, he already had the combat power of the quasi-Supreme Will realm. When he became a grade 2 Supreme God, grade 3 Supreme God realm, grade 4. Supreme God, and even true quasi-supreme will realm combat power, what level would his true combat power reach? Comparable to the supreme will realm? Zhou Zhou thought about it and felt that it was unlikely. Supreme will and supreme gods were two completely different species. It can't be achieved by accumulation of things. However, even if he could not compare to a true supreme willpower realm expert, it should not be a problem for him to call himself the number one expert below the supreme willpower realm. This was enough for Zhou Zhou for the time being. Then, he looked at the law skills of the other three lords. After the myriad methods, Star Palm reached the level of a grade 1 supreme god. Its power also increased greatly after the myriad methods. Star Palm reached the level of a grade 1 supreme god. Its power also increased greatly. This was also the origin of the name of its law skill, uniting all laws and controlling the stars. After advancing to a grade 1 supreme god law skill, its destructive power increased by 5 times. In other words, even without relying on the king to increase Zhou Zhou's strength, just the myriad methods. Star Palm alone was enough to match a quasi-supreme willpower realm expert. However, he might not be able to use a second palm strike after using this one. Therefore, he still needed the augmentation of the king, so that he would have endless supreme divine power to constantly activate the myriad method's Star Palm. Then, there were the 2 Lord Law skills, all the land. And the world belongs to the king, and seaside belongs to the king. War Law Technique. Name, no land in the world isn't the king's land. Law skill quality, grade 1 supreme god. Introduction to law skill power. When you unleash this law skill, the realm you are in will be your absolute law domain. No negative debuffs can be added to your body. Other than existences above the supreme will domain, no one can interfere with the operation of your law domain. When you activate your nomological domain, you can crush all nomological domains of the same level. Even the effects of a higher will domain will be slightly weakened. You can set up your domain rules in your nomological domain. It can be temporarily preserved or permanently preserved, making it your temporary permanent exclusive territory. You can have up to 100 kiloitis exclusive territories at the Boundless Universe level at the same time. You can forcefully make 100 Boundless Universes your territory every day through the Lord's Law skill. No land in the world isn't the king's land. After using it, you can't use it again on that day. Law skill. Name, all the people in the world are the king's subjects. Law skill quality. Grade 1 supreme god. Introduction to law skill power. When you activate this law skill domain, the living beings in the domain will be affected by your domain and quietly change their thoughts and will. In the end, they will become subjects who submit to you from the bottom of their hearts. You can consume half of the supreme divine power in your body and instantly change the thoughts and will of the life forms in the domain, turning them all into subjects loyal to you. Currently, you can at most affect life forms below grade 1 supreme god level. For god spirits at grade 1 supreme god level, there is a 10% chance of successfully changing their thoughts and will, making these become god spirits loyal to you. Note 1. The active effect of this law skill can only be used once a day. Note 2. This law skill cannot superimpose with other similar effects. After reading it, there was only one word in Zhou Zhou's mind. Powerful. It was too powerful. He felt that these 2 law skills were not inferior to the king, the myriad method's Star Palm, and the newly comprehended 95 Supreme King. In this world, a Lord Law skill like the Imperial Land, as a domain-type Lord Law skill, could not only crush all law skills of the same level, but it could even weaken the will domain of Supreme Will Realm experts of a higher level. On this point, even the 4 Lord Law skills, the King, the Myriad Method's Star Palm, the 95 Supreme King, and the Sea of Earth, could not do it. In addition, through the All the Land. In the world belongs to the King, he could make 100 boundless universes his territory every day. It's ridiculous to think about it. As for Land of Earth, a minister of the King, he was simply equivalent to an enhanced version of the Son of Destiny. However, there was a consumption, and the range of effect was only effective within the domain. However, its effect was very powerful. All the people in the world are the king's subjects, other than the supreme gods and stronger beings. The other life forms and God's spirits would directly become his subjects. Just thinking about it made him feel ridiculous. In the future, I'll use it repeatedly with the Son of Destiny. This way, I can save a lot of energy every day. Zhou Zhou thought to himself, thinking about the beautiful future. Created through the recycling of the Land of Earth, a minister of the King and the Son of Destiny, the smile on his lips became even more obvious. Other than becoming a grade 1 supreme god, there's one more thing that can't be ignored. That's the supreme unique Lord talent that I personally upgraded after spending a night on 10 of them. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. Then, with a thought, a Lord talent panel appeared in front of him. Lord talent, heavenly summoning, supreme unique. Specific talent effect. Any subject you summon from the gate of summoning has a minimum strength of an epic tier advanced grade. There is a 1% chance of summoning a legendary tier advanced grade subject. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction after reading it. From today onwards, the weakest subject that he summoned every day would be an epic tier advanced grade. There was even a chance that he could summon a legendary tier advanced grade subject. Needless to say, it was the former. It was 2 levels higher than the originally strengthened version of the heavenly summoning. As a legendary tier advanced grade subject, the latter could advance to the god spirit level with a little nurturing. With this supreme unique, Lord talent coupled with my 10 sacred blessings, War Master, God Terrence's blessing from today onwards, a large number of god spirits will be born under my command. Zhou Zhou sighed. Then he muttered to himself, even though I can create the supreme unique Lord talent now, I still need the Lord talent crystal fragment or even the Lord talent sphere. They're like fuel, and I'm like a machine that uses fuel. Only with enough fuel can I produce a high quality supreme unique Lord talent. It's fine if I don't need fuel, but it will take a long time for me to create a supreme unique Lord talent. This doesn't meet my current needs. I need more and more supreme unique Lord talents to help me. Most of my current opponents are already supreme gods, or even quasi-supreme willpower existences after all. Only the supreme unique Lord talent can help me facing them. In addition, if you continue to improve your supreme sacred body in the future, you will continue to need a large number of Lord talent crystal fragments, or even Lord talent spheres. Adding these 2 factors together, the number of Lord talent crystal fragments and Lord talent spheres I need can be said to be vast. The pace of collecting these 2 resources will not stop. Then, he did not think too much about it. He first came to Wuxin and obtained 1,000 capital units Supreme God Realm Soldier recruitment books, 1,000 capital units Supreme Holy Mage God recruitment books, 1,000 capital units Supreme God Realm Soldier class. Change certificate, 1,000 capital units Supreme Holy Mage God class. Change certificate, and other loots from the Scarlet. Broodmother. Then, he got Wuxin to look for reserve recruits to change his profession, while he went straight to the Gate of Summoning to recruit new recruits. Before the Gate of Summoning, Zhou Zhou looked at the tall Gate of Summoning in front of him. Out of habit, he first called over a Master God tier advanced grade Eternal Battleship. Then, he threw in all 2,000 capital units recruitment books. Finally, he spent 100 Master God tier elementary grade divine crystals to recruit they in one go, and arranged for them to be on this Eternal Battleship. Then, he looked over a total of 2,000 extraordinary tier advanced grade soldiers. From capital units were lined up neatly in the inner world of the Eternal Battleship. As for their strength, more than 1,900 capital unit soldiers were epic tier advanced grade soldiers. The remaining dozens of capital unit soldiers were legendary tier advanced grade soldiers. Zhou Zhou looked at the dozens of legendary tier advanced grade soldiers from the capital units and suddenly realized something. Among these legendary tier advanced grade soldiers, they included humans and other races. Human soldiers accounted for about 500 trillion. The reason why there were so few human soldiers was because when he used the recruitment books through the Gate of Summoning, he only summoned humans. As time passed, almost all the humans in the myriad worlds that he could summon here were summoned by him. In the end, when he used the recruitment books, the soldiers summoned began to appear from the people of foreign races. Later on, there were more and more soldiers from the people of foreign races. This situation continued until now. The soldiers he recruited every day through the recruitment books had mostly become soldiers from the people of foreign races, and only a few were human soldiers. However, that's not the point. Most importantly, as long as these human soldiers came to him through the Gate of Summoning, they would automatically possess the Blazing Sun God race bloodline. And now, the lower limit of the potential of the Blazing Sun. Human race's bloodline was the low-tier deity level intermediate grade. In other words, the 500 trillion legendary tier advanced grade humans in front of him would only need a day or two to advance from the legendary tier. Advanced grade to the low-tier deity level elementary grade and become true god spirits. 100 trillion legendary tier. Advanced grade humans were equivalent to 500 trillion god spirits. Even the current mysterious caravan under him could not compare to the number of god spirits. In the future, when the Supreme Will arrived and saw these 500 trillion human god spirits, it would probably be shocked. It looks like I'm about to do something big. Zhou Zhou suddenly realized this. More than 500 trillion god spirits suddenly appeared in the myriad worlds. Even if these god spirits were only low-tier, deity-level elementary grade god spirits, it was also enough to shock any faction in the myriad worlds. Zhou Zhou thought for a while and stopped thinking about it. How the myriad worlds reacted was up to them. He couldn't possibly be worried about the reactions of the myriad worlds and not want these 500 trillion god spirits. Wouldn't he be a fool? Since that was the case, he would take things as they came. This was a god spirit that I had exchanged my innate ability for, not stolen. What was there to be afraid of about him? Thinking of this, he stopped. Thinking, and got Zero to lead the 2,000 capital units army to look for Zhou Marshall. Then, they opened the original Dragon Abyss interface of the Gate of Summoning and spent 100 Master God tier elementary grade divine crystals to summon 66,600 pure-blooded dragons. They were placed on another eternal mothership. Then, he looked at these dragons and quickly realized that among these pure-blooded dragons, there were two that looked more powerful than the other pure-blooded dragons. It was none other than the legendary dragon race. Zhou Zhou could not help but nod slightly when he saw the two legendary dragons. He had triggered another 10% chance of summoning two legendary dragons. He looked over, and one of the two legendary dragons was made of crystals, and the surface of each crystal vaguely revealed the interior of a different world. Zhou Zhou searched the inherited memories of the dragons in his mind, and quickly knew who the legendary dragon in front of him was. It was the legendary dragon, the illusion world spirit dragon. This legendary dragon had used the law of illusion and the law of the world to achieve the great Tao of a master god tier. Even though his combat ability could not be ranked at the top among the legendary dragons, he could be ranked in the top 10 in terms of survival. Moreover, because the illusion world spirit dragon liked to collect the illusions in the hearts of all the life forms in the myriad worlds, it was one of the few legendary dragons who were willing to appear, frequently in front of the life forms in the world. Therefore, it had a very good relationship with many races. As for the other legendary dragon, its form was very strange. His dragon body was actually a green signal dragon body formed by two signals. It looked rather technological. That's a digital divine dragon, Fermat, Zhou Zhou said in surprise. The full name of the digital divine dragon was the dragon god of numerical values and information. It was said that the other party was a favorite of the laws of technologies and dragons. It was born from the different characteristics of these two laws. At the same time, he was also the guardian dragon god of all technological civilizations. However, most of the time, he would not appear in front of life forms. Instead, he would roam through data and information. Occasionally, he would transform into animated life forms, movie life forms, technology dolls, game NPCs, online friends, and other things that other people would not notice. Unexpectedly, his territory had actually attracted the other party here. That's not right. Zhou Zhou suddenly reacted. It was normal for his territory to attract the other party over. This was because, after recruiting the Machina Master God, Zero had personally controlled the technology of the entire Blazing Sun Divine Capital to the mixed virtual reality era that Zhou Zhou dreamed of, which was the data civilization era. This level of technological civilization was considered a top-notch civilization even among the Machina race, even if it was only 2 levels away from the highest level of technological civilization, the era of mechanical ascension, supreme will. Under such circumstances, as the guardian dragon god of a technological civilization, it was too normal for the other party to come to him. At the thought of this, Zhou Zhou summoned the 2 legendary dragons in front of him. When the 2 legendary dragons instant transmitted in front of Zhou Zhou and saw him, they immediately said respectfully, "I'm Illusion World. Spirit Dragon, Digital Divine Dragon. Greetings, Common People's Regal, Supreme Lord Reserve, Your Excellency." "Hello," Zhou Zhou said to the 2 legendary dragons with a smile. Then he chatted with the 2 legendary dragons, mainly with the Digital Divine Dragon. The Digital Divine Dragon was much more mysterious than most legendary dragons after all. Furthermore, he did not take the initiative to contact the dragons most of the time. Therefore, even though Zhou Zhou had many dragon and even legendary dragon bloodline inheritances, he still did not know he very well. The Illusion World Spirit Dragon did not mind when it saw this scene. It even chatted with the Digital Divine Dragon. Then, Zhou Zhou and the Digital Divine Dragon discovered that this Illusion World Spirit Dragon was simply a chatterbox. Once they started talking about a topic, it would not stop. However, this fellow indeed knew a lot, and the content he said was very fulfilling. Just as Zhou Zhou and the digital divine dragon were about to find an excuse not to talk, a master god tier flew over. It was the Machina master god. Zero. Zero, you're here too. The illusion world spirit dragon said in surprise. Zero. The digital divine dragon said calmly, Greetings, your majesty. There's also your excellency, the illusion world spirit dragon, and your excellency, the digital divine dragon. The Machina master god, Zero, respectfully greeted Zhou Zhou before greeting the illusion world spirit dragon and the digital divine dragon. What are you doing here? Zhou Zhou asked curiously. This fellow was usually obsessed with research and creating more types and higher-level mechanical life forms. Even he rarely saw him. I sensed the presence of an old friend, so I came to take a look. The Machina Master God explained before looking at the digital divine dragon. Zhou Zhou was enlightened, and it turned out that the Machina Master God and the digital divine dragon were good friends. That's understandable. One was the patriarch of the mechanical clan who advocated technology. In the myriad worlds, no other civilization could compare to him in terms of technology development. The other was the guardian of technology civilization. It was normal for the two to have a close relationship and even be friends. You guys go ahead, Zhou Zhou hurriedly said. Then he looked at the illusion world spirit dragon. Looks like you know Zero too. Let's go and chat. I'd like that. The illusion world spirit dragon said happily, Machina master god, Zero, digital, divine dragon. Soon the three of them were gone. Zhou Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. Then he went to the Jade Capital Immortal Mountain and spent 1,000 low-tier deity-level elementary grades to summon 100 heavenly venerates, heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals, and heavenly generals. Among the summoned heavenly soldiers and heavenly venerates, 99 of them were epic-tier advanced-grade soldiers. The remaining capital unit soldiers were legendary-tier advanced-grade soldiers. Furthermore, they were all heavenly generals and heavenly venerates. Right at that moment, swish, 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 swish. A total of 2,959 nomological pillars of light soared into the sky from the direction of the Reincarnation Sacred Palace. When Zhou Zhou saw this, a smile appeared on his face. This was the true god tier who was preparing to break through yesterday. After a night, he had finally advanced from a true god tier advanced grade to master god tier elementary. Grade very good. Previously, only 1,000 or so true god tier had been promoted to master god tier. This time, it directly increased by nearly 3 times, reaching the level of more than 2,900 new Master God tiers. This kind of record was enough to leave a mark in history. However, he also had to thank the Lotus Flame Supreme God and the Fire Poison Supreme God yesterday. If not for the fact that the masters of these 2 war territories led the ultimate void soldiers of the 2 war territories to attack they, allowing they to save a lot of time and obtain promotion energy from them, he would not have been able to promote so many true god tiers to master god tier in a short day. At the same time, the gods of the myriad worlds naturally saw the nearly 3,000 beams of advancement light. They fell silent upon seeing this scene. Last time, more than 1,000 master gods had leveled up at the same time. This time, more than 2,900 master gods were promoted at the same time. It looked like a huge improvement, but it was no longer important to them. There was no difference between more than 1,000 newly advanced Master God tiers and nearly 3,000 newly advanced Master God tiers to them, after all. It was to the extent that they looked up to them. I don't think it's strange for a Supreme God to suddenly appear in the Sun God Kingdom at this time. I have the same feeling. It's not strange for a Supreme God to be born when there are nearly 3,000 Master Gods. You think too highly of the common people's regal. Even though there's only a huge gap between a Master God tier and a Supreme God, don't you understand the difference? The Supreme God already has an entire nomological great Tao that he created himself. In the future, he can even break through the limits of the God Spirit and become a noble existence with supreme will. Meanwhile, the Master, God tier has only just stepped onto the path of creating nomological laws. Don't think that the common people's regal has so many new Master God tiers. But to give birth to a supreme god? Difficult, difficult, difficult. That makes sense. Since the development of the supreme great cosmos until now, we only have more than 10,000 supreme gods left. How long has it been since the common people's regal rose? Even with the help of the supreme will, he shouldn't have the foundation to give birth to a supreme god. Don't you know that Lord Common People's regal already has many supreme gods in the ultimate void battleground? As far as I know, those supreme god worshippers were all instigated by the common people's regal using his special law skills. The supreme gods who instigated the incite defection and the supreme gods who cultivated their own forces are completely different. I think Holy shit, look at that. The gods were stunned and immediately looked over. Then, they was stunned. Two completely different starry sky phenomena appeared in the starry sky. These two phenomena were so huge and dazzling that even the two supreme stars, the sun star and the great lunar star, could not hide their dazzlingness. One of the phenomena was a general leading thousands of troops to charge recklessly on the battlefield and slaughter the enemy. The other phenomenon was the scene of a pitch-black holy dragon in the depths of the abyss, using its blood-red eyes to stare covetously at the myriad worlds outside the abyss. These two phenomena were strange phenomena formed by the interconnected stars of the divine kingdom. What shocked the god spirits the most was that the divine kingdom stars that connected the two great phenomena were not the divine kingdom stars of ordinary god spirits, nor were they the divine kingdom stars of true god tier. Instead, they represented the divine kingdom stars of master god tier. Every phenomenon was shockingly constructed from thousands of divine kingdom stars of the master god tier divine kingdoms. This, all the deities, true god tiers, and master god tiers who saw this scene were shocked, speechless. After an unknown period of time, an old master god tier advanced grade god spirit that had lived for 100,000 years said with difficulty, with the master god tier divine kingdom as the foundation, he forged the supreme constellation of the heavens. Two chief gods broke through to the divine stages at the same time, supreme gods, and they are all from the blazing sun divine kingdom. The common people's regal has given birth to two supreme gods who belong to them, silence. All the god spirits were shocked by this news and did not know what to say. As the pinnacle of the path of a god spirit, the difficulty of the birth of a supreme god was extremely high. This could be seen from the fact that there were a large number of master god tiers in the entire supreme great cosmos, but there were only 10,000 supreme gods. However, how long had it been since this common people's regal came to the high continent from the myriad worlds to become the lord of all races, and advanced from the lord of all races to the supreme lord's fourth reserve army? Moreover, in less than a year, not only did the other party become the supreme lord's fourth reserve army, but even two supreme gods, who stood at the peak of the god spirit realm, were born. Just thinking about it made them feel incomprehensible. How was that possible? When had the supreme god been born so easily? Not to mention supreme gods, it would not be so easy to give birth to an ordinary low-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirit if it was an ordinary lord faction. The gods felt that what was happening now was challenging their worldview. At the same time, Zhou Zhou looked at the phenomenon of advancement in the sky, especially the two supreme god phenomena. He could not help but nod in satisfaction. He could tell at a glance that these two supreme phenomena came from Bai Yun and Nazario. It was not in vain that he gave the two drops of willpower and the top-notch legacies to them. They had indeed lived up to his expectations and successfully advanced to supreme god. However, he also thought of a problem. Since both Bai Yun and Nazario had advanced to grade 1 supreme god, they had such a shocking advancement phenomenon. What about himself? He was also a grade 1 supreme god who had just advanced. Why did he not notice his advancement phenomenon? Just as Zhou Zhou was feeling puzzled, lines of text appeared in front of him. Supreme Will notification. The range of your advancement phenomenon is too large. If you let it go, it might cause a huge impact. Currently, there are hidden enemies of the illusionist clan in our supreme great cosmos. If they finds out about your advancement phenomenon, you will be in danger. Supreme Will notification. The path of the illusionist clan is completely different from our cultivation path. Their methods are even stranger and more unpredictable. For your safety, I dispersed your advancement phenomenon. Supreme Will notification. You might not be willing. How about this? In order to compensate you if there are any Master God tier, Advanced Grade God spirits under, you who want to advance to the Supreme God level, I can let them be blessed with providence, increasing the success rate of their advancement by 20%. This enhancement only lasts for 7 days. Take good care of yourself. Next. Zhou Zhou was immediately pleasantly surprised after reading it. The advancement phenomenon was naturally not important. It was just something superficial. It did not affect his advancement and future potential at all. He was just announcing to the gods in the myriad worlds that he had advanced to the Supreme God. He didn't need this title. Real benefits were the most important for him. The success rate of becoming a Supreme God has increased by 20%. This is a huge improvement. I have to get someone to remind my Master God tier Advanced Grade God spirits that when it's time to break through, they have to break through resolutely and not hesitate. If you miss the time, you can't make up for it. Zhou Zhou thought about it and told Zhou Manage about this matter, asking him to make the arrangements. Zhou Manage expressed that he understood and would personally resolve this matter. And he guaranteed that more Master God tier advanced grade God spirits would use this opportunity to smoothly advance to the Supreme God level. Speaking of which, this time, he waited for more than an hour before the advancement phenomenon in the starry sky gradually dissipated. 961 colorful nomological pillars of light flew out of the reincarnation sacred palace and quickly landed around Zhou Zhou after the advancement phenomena dissipated. They were the 2,959 new Master Gods, who had just advanced, and the two new Supreme Gods, Baiyun and Nazario. After they arrived, they immediately kowtowed to Zhou Zhou in unison and said respectfully, "Greetings, Your Majesty. Thank you, Your Majesty, for bestowing us with this inheritance. We have all successfully advanced to become Master God tier elementary grade God spirits." After they finished speaking, Baiyun and Nazario also said respectfully and gratefully, "Greetings, Your Majesty, Master. Baiyun Nazario has successfully advanced to a Grade 1 Supreme God." As expected, you didn't disappoint this Emperor. Zhou Fight smiled and nodded. Then he said, "As usual, I will hold a promotion ceremony for all of you tonight. In addition, this Emperor, Baiyun, and Nazario have also successfully advanced to Grade 1 Supreme God today. We held all the promotion ceremonies together in order to save time. To save time and resources. However, this Emperor will be in charge of this promotion ceremony. You guys will be the foil. You won't be unwilling, right?" Zhou smiled as he looked at the newly promoted Master Gods around him, Baiyun, and Nazario. These newly advanced Master God tiers, Baiyun and Nazario, were stunned for a moment when they heard this. Then many God spirits revealed ecstatic expressions. "Yes, we do. Of course we'd like that. Not to mention being a foil, even if you don't want me to hold the promotion ceremony and only let me participate, I'm willing." Now, the God spirits had also come to their senses and were overjoyed. This was a promotion ceremony that could be held with His Majesty. It was almost equivalent to their idol getting married. Then they realized that fans were also invited and would be important participants in the wedding. What kind of glory was this? It would be strange if they were unwilling. If word got out, it would be a family history of glory. When the other God spirits heard this, they were both envious and jealous. At the same time, they hated themselves for not being able to advance, to become a Grade 1 Supreme God. Otherwise, they would have been able to participate, okay? Then let's do it. Seeing that they had no objections and was even very happy, Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. Then he chatted with the newly promoted God spirits for a while before rewarding each Master God tier with a set of Master God tier elementary grade divine artifacts that suited them. As for Baiyun and Nazario, Zhou Zhou generously gave them a set of Grade 1 Supreme God divine artifacts that were compatible with their nomological path. Then he got them to look for Zheng Yuan Qi to collect their jobs and worshipped God spirit salaries. After they left, Zhou Fight calculated the strength of his main combat army, including today's 4,000 new recruits from the capital units, 600 pure-blooded dragons, 100 heavenly soldiers from the capital units, 2,959 new Master God tiers, and 2 new Supreme Gods. The troops under him had already reached 1 Guy unit 455 capital units, with 823,313,271 soldiers, 81,811 God spirits, 183 out of 58, 325 million true gods, 47,616 Master Gods, and 33 Supreme Gods. At this point, a smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. Finally, there was a Guy unit army. This kind of military force could be considered the backbone of the Supreme God forces. With this Guy unit's military strength, he would not be afraid of them, even if he faced the top supreme forces in the myriad worlds. Zhou Zhou chatted with Bai Yi and they for a while before letting they return to their duties. Baiyun also returned to the Sky Void mystic realm of the ultimate Void battleground, and arrived in front of Zhou Fight. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Baiyun said respectfully, "You've successfully become a Supreme God?" "Not bad." Zhou Fight glanced at her and said with a smile, "I won't have the face to meet Your Majesty again if I still can't become a Supreme God with the treasures Your Majesty gave me." Baiyun smiled bitterly. "You can't say that. If you weren't outstanding enough and had sufficient qualifications and military achievements, my main body wouldn't have casually bestowed such a treasure to you." Zhou Fight shook his head. "That's true. The main body had given Baiyun a treasure of the level of the source of will. The main reason was that Baiyun deserved this reward even though this was partly because Bai Yun had followed him for a long time and was his most trusted general. He had never hidden the fact that his had rewarded Bai Yun with the source of his will. However, when the other generals heard about it, they felt that it was only natural and never felt that there was anything wrong with it. It was obvious how much the generals approved of Bai Yun. He didn't say much and changed the topic. Go gather the army. There are a total of 8 void mystic realms in the Lotus Flame War territories and the Fire Poison War territories. This emperor intends to conquer them all within a day. Let the soldiers prepare for repeated battles. We have sufficient war supplies. Yes, Your Grace, Bai Yun said calmly. Zhou Feit's expression was calm. The two gods did not think that the 8 void mystic realms were difficult. At most, it would take some time. If it were they from 2 days ago, they would probably think that this was a difficult mission. However, in the past 2 days, Zhou Feit's strength had increased exponentially through the Son of Destiny's Insighty defection. Not to mention ordinary god spirits, true god tiers, and master god tiers. He had a total of 31 subordinates of supreme gods alone. The remaining 2 supreme gods were the Death Supreme God, Thanatos, and the Abyssal Holy Dragon, Nazario. They stayed in the High Continent as the supreme god-level combatants in the High Continent's base camp. They were responsible for protecting the rear and providing support to the needs of the top combatants. It was precisely because Zhou Feit had 31 supreme gods and tens of billions of god spirits by his side that he felt that conquering 8 void mystic realms in 1 day would not be a problem. Bai Yun went to prepare. A moment later, after the army was ready, they flew out of the sky void mystic realm and saw Lord of 10,000 Evils and his army waiting. Outside, the Lord of 10,000 Evils looked rather high-spirited. At first, Zhou Feit did not know what was going on. It was only when he saw the 17 supreme gods behind the Lord of 10,000 Evils that he came back to his senses, the subordinates of 17 supreme gods. This could indeed make a god spirit full of confidence, even though it was still a little inferior to him. At this moment, the Lord of 10,000 Evils had already flown to his side. He smiled and said, "Let's go, bro, huh?" The Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at the 31 supreme gods who were quietly watching he behind Zhou Feit and suddenly fell silent. "What's wrong, Brother Demon Lord?" Zhou Feit held back his laughter and asked. The Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at Zhou Feit with a complicated expression. It had only been a short while, but the other party had actually surpassed him in all aspects, be it in terms of personal strength or subordinates. No wonder the other party had made the Supreme Will personally announce the end of the Lord of All Races event and conferred him the title of Supreme Lord's 4th Reserve Army in less than a year. After coming to the High Continent, in the past, Lord of 10,000 Evils still felt that it was very incomprehensible. In the end, he could only attribute it to the Supreme Will having his own arrangements and thoughts. However, now that he saw that the other party had 31 supreme gods from scratch, and his combat strength had also increased to the quasi-supreme will realm, he suddenly understood how the Supreme Will felt when it announced the end of the Lord of all races. With his speed of growth, who could still fight for supremacy with him? Wasn't that purely looking for a blow? For example, now he felt that he had suffered a deep blow. I'm fine. The Lord of 10,000 Evils forced a smile and said, "Let's go to the Void Mystic Realm. Today's itinerary is rather dense. Let's not waste time." Okay. Zhou Feit smiled and nodded without saying anything else, just as they was preparing to head to the Void Mystic Realm closest to them. Suddenly, Zhou Feit and the Lord of 10,000 Evils looked into the distance almost at the same time. Suddenly, an army flew over from afar. All hands on deck. The Legion commander of the Ultimate Evil Spirit Army, under Lord of 10,000 Evils and Bai Yun under Zhou Feit, immediately gave the order. The next second, the nearly 100 billion god spirits of the two armies were almost prepared for battle at the same time. They looked at the sudden arrival of the army in the distance with extremely dangerous gazes, and the other party seemed to have noticed their actions. Soon, a loud laugh could be heard. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. We're on the same side. We're here to help. After saying that, the one who spoke had already arrived before them. It was none other than the Crimson Overlord faction's supreme god, Becky. Behind him were 10 billion Scarlet troops, 100,000 True God tiers, 10,000 Master God tiers, and 10 Scarlet Supremes. Gods? It's actually him? That's strange. This guy usually doesn't care about the Supreme Will's faction. Why is he here today? The Lord of 10,000 Evils was puzzled and sent a voice transmission to Zhou Feit. One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Let's be careful. Zhou Feit transmitted his voice. The Lord of 10,000 Evils nodded. "You won't blame us for showing up without an invitation?" Becky said with a smile. His words sounded a little strange, even though he said it with a smile. Zhou and Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at each other. "I will," Zhou said. Becky. The army of the Crimson Overlord was speechless. Lord of 10,000 Evils. At this moment, the Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at Zhou normal expression and suddenly felt that his brother was simply a mountain that he looked up to. Is this what young people nowadays are like? I like it. He looked at Becky's dumbfounded expression and couldn't help but feel very happy. When he was resisting the attack of the ultimate void race, this fellow had been staying in seclusion and guarding his Blood Supreme base planet every day. This resulted in him facing the attack of the ultimate void race alone. If the fall of the ultimate void battlefield's war territories had to be divided, then the Lord of 10,000 Evils would at most take 30% of the blame. And Becky, who had been hiding behind the battlefield and not doing anything, would definitely get 70% of the blame. Therefore, the Lord of 10,000 Evils was extremely happy seeing the other party's defeated expression. At this moment, Becky also came back to her senses. His expression immediately darkened as he glared fiercely at Zhou. "How dare you? Are you really going to blame me?" "You're deaf, can't you hear me?" Zhou asked. "That's rude." Becky was so angry that his blood surged, making his already blood-red face look so red that it turned dark purple. Zhou snorted in disdain, a bunch of cowards who refused to fight. He couldn't be bothered to talk to them nicely. Furthermore, he did not think that there was anything wrong with his words. These guys did not even have an invitation and just brought their troops to the door. Those who knew would think that they were here to fight together. Those who did not know would think that they were here to fight. That was why he didn't have a good tone. At this moment, Lord of 10,000 Evils sent a voice transmission. "Brother, Common People's Regal, I know you're unhappy, but I'm actually even more unhappy. However, the other party is still a subordinate of the Crimson Overlord, and Becky is one of the 4 successors designated by the Crimson Overlord. Let him off first for the sake of the Crimson Overlord. You don't have to say anything. I'll ask he why he suddenly came." Zhou transmitted his voice. Venting was just venting. He was still clear about the overall situation. The Lord of 10,000 Evils coughed lightly and said after he obtained Zhou's approval, "Becky, you've been guarding your base planet for countless years and haven't come out of seclusion. Why did you suddenly come to us today?" Becky snorted coldly. He wanted to not answer, but for he own goal, he still raised his head and said arrogantly, "We saw that you had been fighting against the ultimate void race's army, and were afraid that you would be alone and helpless, so we specially came to help you. I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful. Apologize to me. I might even change my mind." The Lord of 10,000 Evils' expression turned strange. Will these guys be so kind? "Edit, come if you want." Zhou, whose strength had increased greatly, did not give the other party any face compared to the Lord of 10,000 Evils. When Lord of 10,000 Evils needed the other party's help the most, the other party did not come. Now that Lord of 10,000 Evils had he coming, they came when they had won consecutively in the ultimate void battlefield and obtained fruitful results. Even a fool could see through the other party's intentions. Didn't they just want to take advantage of the fact that they was in the limelight and join in to gain some benefits? They even made up a high-sounding reason, hypocritical and disgusting. "Go, brother demon lord. We don't have to care about them. We just have to do our own things," Zhou said calmly. Then he asked Bai Yun to lead the army to board a supreme god-level cosmic battleship. These were found by them in the warehouses of the Lotus Flame Main City and Fire Poison City. There were a total of 4 ships, and they were just right for them to use. It had to be said that the speed of a Supreme God-level cosmic battleship was much faster than the speed of the Master God tier Advanced Grade Eternal Mothership. With these 4 cosmic battleships, they traveled much faster in the Ultimate Void battlefield than before. The Lord of 10,000 Evils hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still prepared to leave with Zhou. He didn't even bother with Becky anymore. Becky's anger surged, seeing that he had been ignored. He wished he could tear Zhou and the Lord of 10,000 Evils apart on the spot, but his remaining rationality told him not to do so. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for him to explain to Lord Crimson Overlord. He took a deep breath and gathered the army behind him to follow. He made up his mind. Later, when the war between them starts, He must instruct the god spirits under him to try their best to slack off. It didn't matter if they pretended badly. It was just enough to disgust these two fellows. So what if they continued to pretend? What can you do to me? He could tell that the other party's strength, especially in terms of the number, of supreme gods was much stronger than him. He didn't believe that the other party would dare to take the risk of angering the Crimson Overlord and attack him, the 4th Reserve Army. However, a cold voice suddenly sounded not long after they followed. It was Zhou Fight's voice. We will head to the Void Mystic Realm and complete the mission to suppress the Void Mystic Realm. This is a collective operation between Lord of 10,000 Evils and me, not including you, Supreme Godblood. If you want to help us, you can bring your troops to crusade against the main cities of the other ultimate void races or other ownerless void mystic realms. That's also helping us. But if you continue to follow us and don't cause trouble midway, it's fine. If you cause trouble when we're crusading against the void mystic realm, don't blame me for being rude. Who are you trying to scare? Did I grow up being scared? Becky sneered and completely ignored Zhou Fight's warning as he continued to follow them. Zhou Fight and Lord of 10,000 Evils, who were sitting on the dragon god of all life and preparing to bring Lord of 10,000 Evils through the ultimate void to the first void mystic realm, saw this scene. Lord of 10,000 Evils frowned and said in disgust, I didn't expect this blood supreme god to still be as shameless as before. We've already given him such a warning, yet he still has the cheek to follow us. There's no need to think too much. I can guess that they must have come to take advantage of us. Brother Common People's Regal, what do you think? Lord of 10,000 Evils looked at Zhou Fight. However, he realized that something was wrong with Zhou Fight. Zhou Fight wiped the Xuanyuan divine sword in his hand calmly and silently. He didn't answer his question either. When Lord of 10,000 Evils saw this scene, his divine body inexplicably trembled. He suddenly had a bad feeling. However, at the same time, he was looking forward to his premonition coming true. He looked at the blood supreme god and the army behind he, who were following closely behind him, and muttered, You could have provoked anyone, but you have chosen to provoke my brother Common People's Regal. You know what it means when a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger? He is young and energetic. He can tear you apart. And on the way to the Void Mystic Realm, Zhou Marshall also brought Nazario, Thanatos, and 10,000 Master, God tier advanced grade, God spirits to the Chaos Sea. They quickly found the space-time chaotic divine demons, a total of 75 chaotic divine demons beside the 4 chaotic divine demons. Zhou Marshall nodded in satisfaction when he saw this. Then he flew in front of them with the god spirits. Greetings, your majesty. Greetings, Lord Supreme God of Death, Lord Abyssal Holy Dragon. The 4 chaotic divine demons, Space, Ancestor Wind, and Spirit Shadow, immediately said respectfully when they saw Zhou Marshall and them. Zhou Marshall nodded and chatted briefly with them before giving the space-time chaotic divine demon a total of 300 Master God tier divine artifacts. Then he wiped out the 75 chaotic divine demons with a single palm strike. He obtained a total of 336 chaos divine treasures after extracting the loots. Then they went to the ruins of the Chaos of Death and obtained another 170 units of chaos divine treasures. After obtaining all the chaos divine treasures that could be obtained today, he looked at the 1,224 units of chaos divine treasures in the number 1 treasure vault and smiled. Not only had he gathered the chaos divine treasures for the upgraded territory, there were also 224 units extra. This efficiency was not bad.